time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time yet. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up!
Hello, and welcome to Bombastik Broadcasting with Kat, Kim, and Sue.
And as you know, here at the Bombastik Broadcast, we love to highlight and the people that are lighting up the fire in their life. So today, I am very proud to bring to you, straight from Australia, Craig Harry. His business is Universal Wisdom. So he is a paranormal researcher, right? Past life regression for over 25 years, hypnotherapy, UFOs, the spiritual connections through hypnosis. I mean, exciting stuff. So without further ado, let's dive in to Craig Harry.
Craig, I'm going to ask you your first question before you can say a word, apparently. You said on your website you have first-hand experience of reincarnation. Kind of interested in what that means exactly. Yes.
Right. Well, good morning and thanks for having me on your show. Yes, my name's Craig Harry and yes, paranormal researcher. As far as first-hand information, that's two areas you can have from the clients that I have. So I actually record their sessions and do my own research on those sessions to see what information actually links to the real world. And also just about my personal experiences that I had even before I got into being a hypnotherapist. When I first started out, I was an atheist, science all the way. And with life, things pop up and it starts questioning. Well, the thing with science is it's based on explore the unknown. And a lot of people in the academic world kind of forget that. So sometimes it takes the fringe researchers to keep that idea alive and to keep researching the unknown. So that's what I did. When I came across evidence of life after death, then I really had to challenge what I knew, what I didn't know, and start exploring. Now, I knew nothing of it being an atheist, so I had to read a lot of books. And everyone's got different opinions and different researchers. So coming from science, you analyse the information you get and you try and cross-reference it to other information. So that's what I did. And doing first-hand research too, like just turning up to a clairvoyant and being the most silent client they've ever had. Nothing. They couldn't read anything from me. Just you tell me what you're getting. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. And I just wanted to test. Could they link with something? Could they access something? So like everything in life, there are very good people in a certain category and there's not so good people. And it takes time to get through and research what works and what doesn't. Yeah, so from there, I started reading everything about near-death experiences because that's something that I could get my teeth into because people are telling you about their first-hand experience. It's not like a 1,000 or 2,000-year-old book. You're talking to real people who have had this experience in their life. And once I'd read quite a few books, the first book I read was When I Die, Will I Be Dead? And that was a pretty good book. Yeah. And yeah. And that was about near-death experiences here in Australia. So that we've got a government radio here called ABC. So they had a program on it, a radio program, and then they converted it into a book. And luckily, that was one of the first books that I read on the subject. And that really got my appetite going to learn more, to research more, to find out what was true and what wasn't. So I just kept reading more books on near-death experiences, and I was just fascinated. So here I am asking my friends, asking other people I work with, just three basic questions. And it was just, have you ever had something like near-death experience or seen a ghost or seen a UFO? Because that's my other passion. Yeah. And you'll be amazed how many people won't tell you they've had a near-death experience, only if you ask them and only if you're sincere about it. A lot of people do have them. It's a vulnerable
thing, I'm sure.
It is, and it's a very personal thing to them. And I worked with a colleague at work. He was a straight-laced guy, you know, wouldn't entertain anything, you know, just practical, logical all the way, no messing about. And I worked with him for 7 years. And one day I'm bored and I just posed one of those questions to him. And he looked a bit shocked. And he looked around. Luckily, we were in office. And he said, "Who told you?" And I said, "Sorry, who told you?" And I said, "No, I'm just randomly asking people, have they had a near-death experience?" And he said, "There's only 2 people that know he had one, and that's himself and his wife."
Wow.
So he said, "You're now the 3rd person that knows, and I'll tell you about that, but you're not to tell anyone."
You're not
Let's just
mentioning
say,
names here. We're okay.
no. But let's just say he worked in the steel mill, and he was a fit man. Okay, so you didn't want to break that trust, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, he was very sincere. He'd got a bad bout of the flu, and his wife was a nurse, and he had low blood pressure, and he fainted. And his wife rang for an ambulance. He said he floated out of his body, and there he was floating above his body, watching the paramedics turn up and his wife doing CPR. And he said he loves his wife dearly. He would die for his wife in a heartbeat. No questions asked. And he said this pinpoint of light appeared in the corner of the kitchen. And he said it just started to get brighter and brighter and brighter as he's floating above, trying to yell to people, "Hello, I'm here. Can't you see me?" And he said when that light shone on him, he said, "Wow." He said, "I love you, honey, but I'm going to that light." That's how strong it was.
Oh, wow.
That's how beautiful it was. That's how intense it was. And that's the reason he never told anyone, because of how profound it was to him, and it touched his soul. And yeah, wow. So he was revived by the paramedics about 10 minutes later, and that's when
and
he
was
came.
Like, "Damn it, back off!"
Yeah, he was back in the body. "Hi, honey, I'm home." You know.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. If you research and ask people sincerely and keep their trust, they will open up. They will tell you these experiences because they are very personal and profound to everyone. So from there, I just started realizing it's a real phenomenon. It happens whether you believe in anything or you don't. It doesn't matter what religion you are.
Real quick. So he told his wife then, right?
Yes.
He told his wife afterwards. And then she's a nurse. So I'm imagining like nurses would possibly have other experiences with that.
Yeah, a lot of nurses.
I don't know if his wife did, but
Yeah, a lot of nurses see a lot of things and hear a lot of accounts from their patients too.
For sure.
So nurses are a great source of near-death experiences and the paranormal as well, because they witness to it. Not so much doctors, but nurses, yes.
Yeah, because people are out with the doctors, you know.
Yeah, it's you got a thing called professional academia as well. And even though we have evidence and these things are happening, it's also acceptance in society. And that's why it's not talked about a lot in society. And there's a phenomenon called tribe over truth. And they've researched this and it's true. If the tribe doesn't believe it, even though it's true, people won't talk about it. You'll only get a few people that will talk about it. And face whatever consequences come their way. So yeah, it's the brave ones, it's the explorers, it's the people that have a truth and want to share that truth. So the world is slowly turning, it's slowly coming around, we're slowly accepting this, and the most wonderful tool we've got to share this is the internet now. It's uncensored and it's straight to the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you hear it from an actual person and you get to know, the person's personality, which is what I love about doing these podcasts. You might have a topic that, you might think one way or another about. And after meeting the people, it opens your eyes up further and your mind up further. What I want to ask to you, because I know some people have said, oh, it's just, your brain's shutting down and that's why you see the light. What do you say to those people?
Well, that's easy. There's a BBC documentary called The Day I Died. And that's a very...
The Day I Died.
The Day I Died. So Google that one. There are links to it on Vimeo, I believe. And that is a very good documentary because they have medical professionals on there who are talking about how the brain works with the near-death experience patients. And they have some great examples of patients that were clinically dead at the time, and they could confirm that they were floating above their body by what was happening in the operating theatre. So the neurologists talk about that, and they go, well, your eyes were taped, you had buzzers in your ears, so that way the EEG would record the brainwave function. If you are hearing the buzzer, they would know that your brain is still functioning. So they have these loud buzzers in your ears while they're doing brain surgery. And if the EEG is flat, then they go, right, the brain is out, it's knocked out. So when that's happening and they have the machines recording the operation and recording the event, and that person can tell them word for word what the dialogue was between the doctors, surgeons, and the nurses, then those people go, there's no way you could have known that. That's evidence, yes. There's also the neurosurgeon. I'm trying to, his name escapes me at the moment, but he has a book.
We'll come back in a sec.
Yes, yeah. It's right next door. I'll get it later.
Well, tell us about his book. I'm sure it'll come into your head.
Yes. Okay. It's something like Approaching Heaven. And he's a neurosurgeon in America there. And he had a near-death experience because he suffered from meningitis, a very severe form. And he had a profound near-death experience where he met the soul of his sister that he didn't know he had.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow, that's multi-layered right there.
So when he came back and he could talk to his family and confirm that, and being a neurosurgeon, he confirmed that from all the medical records of his brain at that time, there was no way he could dream or hallucinate or anything. He said his brain was out for the count, but he said he was definitely in a different dimension and in a beautiful world accessing all this. So yes, there's lots of medical professionals who have gone out there and stated the truth.
I'm going to raise my hand. I think Eben Alexander, is that his name?
Yes, Alexander. Okay. Yes, that's him.
Our research department is very good here.
Yeah, we have a great research department.
It's been a while since I picked that book up. The very early ones were Dr. Raymond Moody, and he was researching near-death experiences too. And not only that, but of children. The good thing about children...
Did the guy you were talking about, did he confirm the sister with his parents, or?
Yes, he did. And
you just never told him about her.
Yeah, you'll have to read the book about it, but
okay.
Somehow I think...
Interesting.
She was separated or died somehow, and he just wasn't told about it because they divorced or moved on or something like that. Yeah. So there are medical professionals who are researching this and will back it. And that's what I like, to find books from professionals, no matter what or where. It doesn't mean I'm just going for academically trained people either. There are fantastic people out there that are just natural researchers or natural clairvoyants or mediums. Or it's not about what title you have, it's about what information you have. Yeah,
for sure.
So
and I think it's learning to trust what's coming to you, right? Whatever you call yourself, learning to trust believe what's coming to you.
It's, from my point of view, I have to be convinced. Women have intuition, and you've got a great lie detector test, women, because you can tell when people are sincere and when they're kind of spinning you a line, okay? Guys, we have to kind of read a lot. For me, I just started reading a lot of books and seeing who was qualified out there, and then kind of I was jumping into the deep end by just seeing random clairvoyants and seeing what information they could tell. And occasionally you get a very good one that gives you information that just blows your socks off, and you just go, well, no one could know that. And that's what I did. I just went around seeing who could connect. Was it true? Was it real? And I was starting to build a picture that there is a spiritual home world. The souls do survive the death. And from there, I just started reading other books. And another one that I started on was Many Lives, Many Masters. That's the one that changed my life, by Dr. Brian Weiss.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
So he's
looked into it, but I will.
Yeah. He's a professor of psychiatry, or was, and at the Mount Sinai Institute. So he was helping clients with fears and phobias and things like this with normal academic drugs and therapy. And one client she had a fear of swallowing tablets or capsules, so he couldn't drug the problem. So he had to use hypnosis. And from hypnosis, he left the door open and he said, all right, you've got this fear of water. How about you just go back to that event of where the fear of water comes from? Because he asked her about her childhood. Was there any fearful thing that happened with water in her childhood? And she's like, no. And that's when he left the door open and he said, well, go back to where it happened. And that's when she said she was walking on the beach, Mediterranean, in a nice white sort of toga. And she was walking with her 3-year-old son, and all the water went rushing out from the beach. And we know what that is, because then the tidal wave comes in.
Wow.
Oh gosh, that just gave me the chills. That must be a horrifying experience to remember.
Yeah, she said she tried to run. She was holding her child. She tried to run, but the wall of water just carried them inland for miles, and she drowned. They both drowned. So here's a professor of psychiatry going, what happened there? And he had to explore, was she delusional? Was she psychotic? Was she schizophrenic? He was going through all the explanations of what it could be or could not be. And in the end, he went, no, she's as sane as I can deduce, and I just have to keep exploring and see what else she says. Because after that session of recalling that life, her fear of water diminished.
Wow.
We call that an abreaction, that you have the fear, your subconscious knows what it's linked to, but it can't tell your conscious mind. So it just gives you feelings. And the feeling is fear and dread around water. So by regressing someone and finding the memory, and then your conscious mind can go, I see that movie, now I remember that was the event, and then we can process it. And we process everything we go through in life, whether it's good, bad, whatever, and we put it into a category, or it affects us emotionally in some way, but we process it. It may take years and years to process, but we eventually do process it. And that's the thing. If you can't find the event, if you can't find the information, then you can't process it. So it stays a fear, it stays a phobia that affects you all your life. And that's the beauty of hypnosis. If you can regress, even in present day, if you can regress to any time in your life that is linked to that fear or phobia, then you can release it by finding the source, and then in a gentle way of therapy, slowly reducing the fear associated with that memory, and understanding the facts that happen. And
I've heard that saying, reveal to heal, because so often, even in like daily life, and if an emotion comes up and you're like, oh, what is this?
Yes.
It takes a little while and you stay with it if you know to, right? And then all of a sudden, like half the problem is figuring out what the problem is, and then you can deal with it no matter what.
Exactly.
So when you say that, it makes perfect sense. Can everyone be hypnotized? Is everybody able to do that, to let go and to go there?
Not everyone can. No, it's a process of relaxing someone down to a nice relaxed state where their mind can access their subconscious. Now, there's all different types of reasons why some people can access it really quickly and other people can't. We're all individuals. It all depends on how trusting we are of ourselves, or how trusting we are of another person to guide us there. Some people can do it through their own self-meditation. Some people prefer to go to a medium and have that medium tell them about their life that way. So they're all different levels. After World War II, the psychologists dealing with shell shock, they didn't have the patience that I have to regress someone over 2 hours. So they said, we have to do a speedier thing. And that's when they came up with hypnagogic drugs. And you would have heard of one Rohypnol, the roofies. Yeah. So the psychiatrists, they could do a regression in a very short amount of time with drugs to get them into that relaxed state where their mind would open up that way. But if you can do it naturally with hypnosis, it's much more rewarding, and you're conscious. You're still keeping your same mind levels. They're not altered or, tainted in any way. Yeah.
Boy, there are so many ways this could go. I wish this were a 2-hour podcast.
I know, me too.
Such a wealth of information.
Part one.
I know you
Part one. Yes.
We can just add on as we go.
Well, so I'm a big fan of Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. So, in The Hero's Journey, it's the known, and then at some point you go to the unknown, and you're in the abyss and you think, oh my gosh, I didn't really want to be a hero. I'd like to go back, but you can't. So you got to go through it. So I have to ask, do sometimes these people have a kind of superpower or a sixth sense or an insight that they can bring back with them after seeing the light?
There's another near-death experience book by Dr. Cherie Sutherland, and she talks about how near-death experiences changes people profoundly, no matter what religion, what country, what culture. And she says the light is so transforming to them that they're never the same again. and it's kind of like we wake up
That's
to who we
amazing.
really are. Then suddenly you realize just how amazing our soul is and who we are. And that's what I want to know too. What is this world about? What is this life about? What am I about? What are we about? I wanted to know, was from a science point of view, I can understand evolution, biology, astronomy, everything. But when you talk about the soul, then I wanted to understand, well, how does this fit in and how does it all work? So I was very curious. In the beginning, I was just doing normal, what I call normal past life regressions. So you take someone back to a past life, they play through it like a movie, and you learn what you can, you heal what you can, and then that was it. It was a self-guiding principle. So once you access that area, it works by itself as long as you can guide them to the different steps. So I was thinking that's all there was until I read another book called Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. And he's got a second book called Destiny of Souls. And I recommend to get Destiny of Souls because it's basically got all the information of Journey of Souls, the first one. And it's just a complete book on if you want to know everything about the soul, spirit, heaven. It's all in there. The reason I can promote that is because it took me 10 years, but I can confirm 100% that book with my own clients here in Australia. And the majority of them have not read the book. So I could ask a question to my clients and say, have you heard of this area? Or have you heard of this subject while you're in this area? And they go, oh, yeah, it's right over there. And then I'd get them to describe it to me. And a good hypnotherapist and a good therapist will never lead a client. You'll always ask them to describe everything. You never suggest it's there to begin with. You have to ask them, is there anything in the room? They can say, no, there's nothing in the room. Or they can say, oh, you mean the TV on the wall? So you ask them. You're not leading them. They're searching themselves. Right. And by doing that, they were confirming information written in Destiny of Souls. And by reading Destiny of Souls, I knew the map then of where to take clients to. And there's so many different areas in spirit, in heaven, our home world, of how the system works. So then that just expanded how much more information we could get from a past life regression. And almost the past lives became secondary to the time in between our lifetimes on Earth when we're in spirit, when we're back home. And to answer your question, we have our soul guides, and we also have our soul group that we belong to, our family of souls. And that's our eternal family. That's our classroom, and we share different lifetimes with these individuals. Can be as small as 6 or as large as 50 in a family group. And you will choose different members of the family to be different characters in your next life, in your movie.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've heard that before, and that really warms my soul because you know I don't want to
like we're just starting, right?
And we all have soul mates, and that can be friends, that can be family members, strangers, and you just feel like you've known them all your life.
Isn't that explains a lot?
So you said like 50 souls.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes, or little bunches too.
Yeah, it all depends. But it all depends the type of souls, because it's like choosing school. And if certain kids have got certain things in common or certain things they want to learn, they can group them into their first class. And that way they've got something in common.
These cool kids, I'm totally down.
That's right.
And it's funny because a lot of people that get attracted to us in this, you feel like everything sounds so familiar sometimes, or there's a kinship.
Yeah,
it does.
Guess what?
I was just going to say, because you said something about children earlier, and I feel like, because children are kind of closer to purity, right?
Yes, that's why Dr. Ray Moody, he chose to study children and hear about their near-death experiences, because they weren't tainted by culture, religion, things that adults are. And children are quite honest when you ask them about these things. So he was getting the same stories from children. And also Dr. Tucker from the University of Virginia did a study in a book on past lives of Asian Indian children that could remember their past lives. Now, there's a phenomenon known that children under the age of about 6 can recall their past life, and it can even recall heaven because it's still fresh. They've just come from that area. By about the age of 6, their personality is now bonding with their body, with their brain, and they're becoming who they are. But up to that point, you might hear children talking about their invisible friends or their imaginary friends, or talking about, oh, I used to be a pilot, or I used to be a fireman, or I used to do this and that. And you go, those kids have got a wild sense of humour or a wild imagination, you know. Sometimes if you listen, they're talking about past lives. And there is a case in America as well, or I'm trying to remember his name, but it's a famous case where her son was remembering he was a World War II fighter pilot and he was getting shot down over Iwo Jima. Something like John Callahan or some name like that. I'll link you to it, but you should be able to Google it. There's so much on YouTube now about children who can spontaneously recall their past life. His father wanted to get to the bottom of it, so he asked his son about all the details, and he researched it, and he did find the actual pilot, and he did find relatives of that pilot, and the information this young boy had was very, very accurate.
And you
to
can't
the
explain
point
that any other way.
Yeah.
That's insane.
The older he got, the more the memories faded. But he was having nightmares from going down in a burning fighter. So,
well, can you imagine that? That's probably where all kids' nightmares come from. Gosh, and if you could just record the kids saying it and then have that, they could have that recording for their lives to just, help themselves deal with whatever comes, right?
Yeah. Once you understand this bigger dimension to our physical world, then you start to put a lot of things together. A lot of things make sense. And children, because their psychic eyes are more open too, because they're not used to judging or condemning yet. And they will be the ones that say, oh, grandma came to see me in my sleep or in my bedroom, or grandpa came to see me, or, this or that. They remember their spiritual visitations more than what adults would. Yeah, because it's easier to connect with children because they're open and their innocent nature is more love to connect with. But in saying that, they do have their guardians, they do have their soul protectors, so they are protected at the same time, and only love can come through. It's a fascinating world once you realise there's this bigger dimension that we have souls, they're eternal, we've got history of past lives, we have a soul group that we belong to. We sometimes know these people. Sometimes we borrow from other soul groups for members of our family. So you might feel connected with like 2 people in your family, but the other 2 might feel like strangers. And that's because they're not in your soul group. They're from a neighbouring soul group and they're volunteered to join your movie that you're making for different reasons and different things. Yes, sometimes there's connection with complete strangers, and that comes into karma and balancing from past lives as well. Sometimes you can have a real negative energy person in your family or that circle because that's a karmic connection now of harm that was done somehow in a past life. And it's kind of like, all right, now you 2 people are joined through this energies and you're going to have to work it out because you're family.
Right? Like,
So
you better learn that lesson.
Karma can come at 5 lives time. Have to come now.
I have to connect something here too. One of the coolest things that I heard, I forget where I heard it, but it was described to me as on the passageway through to get into your next life. Part of the game there is that your memory is kind of erased from why you're here. So it's a process of remembering. And I love this saying, she remembered who she was and the game changed. Because every now and then I think we all kind of feel that where, like you say, you get to know yourself better. You get closer each time to maybe why you're here. And it really excites me to think if we all have that purpose and there's different guides like you, the closer we get, remember what our purpose is and we connect with our people, how exciting is that? If there really is a purpose. Right?
Well, there is always a purpose, even if it can't be seen. There is a purpose. And wouldn't it be great if one day we have doctors to go to, but you'd also have soul doctors to go to find out your past lives, your karma, your history, to understand life better and to know what path you should be on, or are you doing okay? To talk about it like a natural thing of therapy.
Yes.
You know, it's still on the fringe, but one day. But yes,
Dr. Craig Harry, right here.
yes,
Right. Craig, well, just 1 second, because I feel like I have a continuing thought from Kath's question.
sure.
So,
I'm
you
just-
know, okay, go ahead.
Wait, he doesn't want to hear it.
So, because I was kind of thinking, okay, so like, let's just say we get the lady that, you know, that died with her son in the,
Title.
tidal wave. So
Yes.
Now she starts her, you know, so she kind of works through that in this lifetime, right? And gets to this,
Yes.
gets to the stage where, you know, she's worked through that. So in future lifetimes, she shouldn't have to work through that fear of water again, right? You know, do you think that it continues? So in this lifetime, sort of where I left off, maybe I'll start my next life at that point, or, you know, I mean, I suppose you probably don't know, but like, do you think you drag some of that stuff back in again?
As I said, I'm a researcher.
Yes.
Two questions there. The first question is, what we have in spirit is, if you can imagine it, you have a pre-life meeting with your teachers, and it's like, okay, you've had a rest, you've talked with everyone, you've explored what you would like to work on. It's all with free will. No one forces anyone to do anything they don't want to do. So if you don't want to go for a lifetime, you don't have to. If you don't want to do that lesson, you don't have to. It's all free will. But there is such an incentive for people to grow as a soul that they will come to earth, they will take on a physical body, and they will go through all these hardships because they see that growth as just essential for a soul. And that growth can only happen in the physical body when you're going through lessons, good or bad. Part of that agreement, because you have another wonderful area called the Council of Elders, and it's not so much council, it's more a group of elders. But the Council of Elders are the highest teachers that are there. They're the ascended masters, and they help the soul guides with their lessons when the soul guides are handling our lessons. And when we die, part of the journey through heaven is to go see our soul Council of Elders. They're the ones that want to know, like grandparents, how are we doing at school? What do you like? What are you passionate about? What things do you want to work on? What things are you having trouble with? So you might say, all right, I'm struggling with jealousy, okay? And they go, all right, well, how about we arrange for your next life? Because they're the ones that arrange your next life. And think about this. They can give you 3 choices of easy, medium, or hard life.
Oh, okay. Did we choose wrong?
So you can say, all right, I don't want it too rough, you know, so I'll have an easier lesson. Or you can say, oh, feeling okay, I'll take the medium lesson, you know, I'll do some hard work. And then you got the real thrill seekers that say, give me the hard one. And they take that on.
Cocky up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they'll arrange your soul group family members, and they'll arrange what body you have, what country. They'll arrange what important connections you'll have in that life, what important lessons will happen. And it's a rough map of what your soul journey will be. And if you agree upon that, you go, okay, yeah, I'll do those lessons. And you've got plenty of time to think it over, because usually it's anywhere between 50, 100, 200 years that you rest on the other side. So
Wow.
You'll go, all right, in that time, yeah, okay, I'll do that. When you agree to that, there's a place called the Room of Contracts. And that's when you'll agree to that contract that I will take that body, I will live my life as much as I can, and I'll do that. But part of that contract is I must forget. I must have amnesia and forget who I am, because I won't apply myself to that life fully. If I remember that there's heaven, if I remember I can come back and I have multiple lifetimes, if I remember all the lessons I've done before. So you agree to the amnesia, and when you're born, this is like the only life you've ever had, the first time you've been in a human you've ever been. So you apply yourself innocently and openly to this life, and your personality, your ego as well. And you develop that not knowing anything. You do have a little compass to help you, and it's right about here. And
I kind of felt a little heartburn.
and
Reporting for my next life. I'm just saying.
yeah.
If there's a way we can put this in the cloud,
Soul cloud.
soul cloud.
put a pin in the amnesia. You were asking the second one about letting go of traumas. And basically, when you're a soul and you're reviewing what you went through in life and you're healing in heaven, you have the choice to let go of all the traumas that you had in life and just retain the actual memory, or you can retain some of the actual emotional energy of those traumas as an unspoken reminder in your next life. So some people choose to carry that over to try and warn them that if I ever get into that situation or near water, I'm going to get an icky feeling, I'm going to get bad dreams. It's going to warn me that didn't end well last time I was here. So that's where the fear and phobia comes in. Once you do the past life regression, you find out that is why that happened, then it helps to release that emotional energy, that physical trauma that we're still carrying with us, that we had an opportunity to let go, but we decided to bring it with us down here as a reminder, like writing your phone number on the children's arm. Yeah, just a little reminder of things. But sometimes, again, free will, we might choose to take too much of that energy with us and we go, I never want to do that again, so I'm going to take 25, 50% of this trauma back with me into life. So that way I never go near water, I never get caught that way again. And your teachers might say, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. It might kind of lead to hang-ups and fears and phobias. And if the soul says, no, that's what I want to do, they go, okay, you're free to find out if that works or not. But the good thing is through hypnosis, we can access soul guides, we can access them again, and we can heal that and let go of it. So it is a therapy session that we can reset a few spiritual energies and contracts and things like that. So yes, we don't need to bring the traumas back with us. And say you never have a regression. When we go back to heaven again, then they'll say, well, how did that work out? And you go, oh, it was nothing but a burden. I was scared of water all my life. And they're like, want to let it go now? And you go, yeah, wash it away. So you've got the chance to wash it away. You don't need to carry it with every life you have ever. Just the memory is enough. Okay. The information, not the trauma or the energy connected with that. So spirit doesn't want you weighed down with all the traumas you have in the physical world, but they do understand we have quite a lot. Yes. So
well, that makes sense of why there's so many coaches and maybe spirit guides becoming more and more part of our society to help people. And maybe it does run a couple lives deep, right?
Yes.
But we've seen and talked to some coaches, I mean, that will help you see the roadblocks and hangups in your way so you can actually live the life you agreed to live, maybe.
Yes. Yeah. We can do it consciously. You know, we can talk through the fears and we can face them and try and reduce them that way. Sometimes we have success. We can do it. Sometimes people can't. And that's where past life regression, which is a natural thing that's just talking, but in a different way, in a deeper way that connects with the soul and connects with heaven. If we weren't allowed to do it, it wouldn't work. So spirit is allowing this to happen because they would like us to heal and let go of these things so that we're lighter and freer to take on our life down here and explore it as much as we can. So it's, like I said, one day it'll be common as going to any other therapist, and that'll be a great day. And to work in with clairvoyance too, for the people that can't be regressed, you know, to have someone there to tell you all about your condition. So yes, back to your question.
Okay. So I was just, when you reincarnate back into the world again, so, you know, you sort of start off and then become Taylor Swift or something like that.
It's kind of the opposite.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, no way.
Yes. It's like, okay.
We're all Taylor Swift? We're all...
Tay-Tay's a separate subject. Let's swing to the other spectrum and pick out any reality celebrities you see on TV that are famous for doing nothing.
Oh boy.
When children are playing in preschool, and you've got all the play toys, and you might even have coats and jackets and hats and things like that, and you say, what do you want to be? Go on, dress up to whatever you want to be. It's the same with the soul, okay? A new soul is just like an innocent child, and the teacher will say to them, what do you want to be? And the soul will say, well, what can I be? And they can say, anything you want. So normally a soul without any reference point or going by their basics, will say, well, I want to be famous. I want to be rich. I want to be good looking. And they go, okay. And I found this through my research indirectly. You'll find that some of the celebrities that are rich or good looking or have a very easy life, they're not very deep spiritually, if you know what I mean.
They have
They're
broken
very-
hearts, maybe, a lot of them.
No, just if you can imagine, superficial, dare I say? Okay.
I think, yes, we know what you
Yeah.
said.
So they're new souls and they're going just by, I want to look good. I want to be rich. I want to, I want to be at the top of the ladder. Okay. And so they get to play and they have an easy life. Now, us people in the trenches, we look up and we see the jet setters having a great time, or people rich for doing nothing, or good looking and every door opens for them, or just charmed, and we go, oh, what did they do to get that? Nothing. They're just new souls that have asked for it.
Okay.
The jocks and the cheerleaders,
Also, on some,
Yes.
We're not talking about those ones right now.
We're not talking about Morgan Freeman.
No.
Right.
We're talking about the superficial ones that their whole life is consumed by how much money, what they look like, and they don't give a damn about a person breaking their heart right next to them. It's all about what party they're going to do tonight. And they'll walk straight past that person without even asking them, how are you? Do you need a hand? What's wrong? It's all about them. So they're immature, superficial young souls because they haven't learned any lessons yet. And they're just understanding what power is. So then when they've had a few lifetimes and they start to develop understandings and they start to develop a heart, they start to develop compassion, sympathy, empathy, then they go, no, I don't want to be famous or rich or anything. I just want to help people, or I want to be normal, or I want to have a family unit. And then you start to value the real things in life. And then you become into the normal world. So you're breaking away from that extreme spectrum over there, and you're getting into deeper lessons and deeper emotions that our soul really runs on. And that educates our soul. So you can have an easy life and you can be, the pretty celebrity, and you won't learn a lot in that lifetime because everything was easy majority of the time. There'll be a few lessons thrown in there, but it's relatively easy and not a lot of hardship. And so they're not really exercising their emotions, their soul, their heart, compassion, or anything like that. The harder you have it in life, the more you realize how valuable those things are. So the other extreme is right down to being, like you say, dead poor or having nothing in life. That takes a really brave soul to do that. Sometimes It's a lesson that they've never had before. Can you do it? Can you survive with no money, no friends, and a drug problem? Or will you destroy
that's
yourself?
The hardest thing I can think of.
Yeah.
That's like the hardest assignment. But what would you learn? Do you have to learn that hard?
As a soul, we have to explore all the roads.
Yeah.
And it all depends how we're learning lessons and how we're handling them. And sometimes we'll choose a hard life to offset or balance some other lives. So you can't always go on holidays. You have to work sometime too. So it's like maybe your soul guide might say, well, you got to put in some growth now because you've been the king and queen and you've done all these wonderful things, but now you got to put in some growth. So how about we put you in a normal family and normal stress of budgets and health problems and all of that, and bickering in the families and everything. Well, some souls might say, how many lifetimes do I have to do of them to catch up now? And they go, 5, 10, 15, I don't know. How do I do it faster? Well, you can have this really rough, hard life. And that'll be equal to like 5 or 10 of those lives.
That makes sense then. Okay.
Wow.
Right? Because it kind of... Wow.
Yeah.
It makes you look at everybody differently, doesn't it?
Does.
Yeah.
And
It does.
injection of hope if there are any suffering addicts watching us, because I've lost so many people I love to addiction. There must be something going on in our time frame where people are like, I'm going to do that 5 lifetimes right now. I want to mention Jim Carrey, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a super good looking, super charismatic, great talented actor. And then halfway through, he's like, I'm going to tell everybody exactly what's behind the veil. Once he's like, that doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
So I feel like he got a little bit of both.
Well,
Okay.
he had a hard childhood too.
Yeah, it's a learning curve, and some people could do an amazing amount of growth in one lifetime. All depends what you're exposed to and what lessons you have, and how much you let sink in, and how much you learn. So
not just go through, but learn.
Yeah, like when we're talking about that contract of our soul journey, they can say, all right, here's the road, here's the stops you'll have, and eventually you'll end up at this destination. So you go, all right, if all goes well. They understand that the plan's out the window. From your first day down here, the plan's out the window. It's a rough map because free will kicks in. Your free will is you can go extreme left or extreme right and miss the target of where you're supposed to go to. You can go 10% off the trail, 20%, 50% off the trail. They're all lessons. They're all lessons, but it's your free will. We get distracted by lots of things and we don't end up to that target, but we learn a lot of other things along the way. So each journey has a lesson, whether it's successful or disaster, we're learning, and they all colour the soul. But there are other times where our teachers say, okay, point A, point B, that's where we'd like you to end up. And you go further than they expect and you end up at point C. And they go, wow, we didn't expect you to go that far. Wow, you did really well. So some people have the capability to do really well at learning lessons in life and applying them in the one lifetime, where other people might take 3 lifetimes to apply them all, the lessons they're learning. So one profound lifetime can really shape a soul, that it just gives them double the amount of growth because they didn't destroy themselves or they didn't destroy other people. They decided to get their life working the best they could and doing the best they could. And that's the thing with amnesia too. They're not knowing there's flyby points and rewards for doing these things. They're just acting from the heart. They're just going, I'm doing this because it makes me feel good and I think it's the right thing to do. So some souls are just amazing that way. Now, in saying that, because I pondered this too, I thought, okay, I can regress people. I can find out what their soul mission is. I can find out their past lives. And here they are halfway through their lesson. Am I wrecking their lesson? And yeah.
Because it's their journey.
Yeah.
Right?
As I said, it wouldn't happen unless Spirit allows it. And Spirit is quite happy for people to call home and to say, where am I on the map? And why do I have this fear every time I cross a bridge or this or that?
This is extremely amazing.
I have to ask 2 questions. Okay, because we gotta eventually come around to the UFOs, because I'm sure there's some really cool dots.
Well, I think that's going to be
Okay, never mind.
Like I said, part 2, part 3, part 4. This is what being a soul is all about. You're supposed to be curious. You're supposed to want to know, because that is what we are as the soul. We want to know.
Sometimes I don't know if I'm an old soul or a young soul, but I'm sure I died in the cold because I hate the cold. Anyway, I gotta hear your insight on the number 27 and the age of like Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Janis Joplin. I remember turning 27 and I was like, hold on tight, girl. If you fly too close to the sun, you might just exit. I feel like they learned everything they needed to know really fast. Do you think there's any, what do you think about 27?
When you see patterns, that is an indicator that there is a plan behind the scenes. So we're observing patterns that shouldn't happen randomly. So in saying that, we're now seeing a pattern of that age. That might be a lesson that people can choose. And they've decided on that number, that age, to return home with for that lesson, whether you call it 291. Are you doing 291? Yeah, I'm cashing out at 27.
Oh, wow.
But there's always
contract.
There's not everyone signs up to come to Earth for a full life. There are people that agree to come for a short life, that some what they call temporary fillers, that are only here for days or weeks. I'll give you an example of a past life regression I did for a friend of mine. In her past life, she had them mainly in America, and she had where her and her brother were, they owned a cotton farm, and the farm wasn't doing well, and they had to borrow money off a wealthier land farm owner, and he wasn't a nice person. He was a ruthless person. So he said, well, I'm going to need that money back. Like, say this is in the 80s, for example, and they didn't have the money to pay back, of course. So he said, all right, I can take land off you, or you can do one thing for me and the debt will be paid. And the brother was like, what was that? And he said, I want you to kill someone for me. And he's like, oh my God, what'll I do? And he's thinking of the farm and his sister and everything. And unfortunately, he agreed to it. So the bad farmer, he said, come over to my cellar at this time. The pistol will be on the table. I'll be talking to someone in the cellar and you shoot them in the back. He said, job done, debt forgiven. He's like, so he agreed to it. He did that, and to his shock, it was a woman in the cellar, and he shot her in the back. And he thought, that's terrible. I have to live with that now, but the debt's paid. But the wealthy landowner said, I don't know what you're talking about. You still owe the debt.
That's neat.
Yeah, and he said, why? What did you do? So then he dobbed him into the authorities, who arrested him, and the wealthy landowner could seize their farm as well. So that's what went on. Now, the brother, he had karma then of taking someone's life. There's only two basic rules to life. Try not to kill anyone if you can. They understand self-defense. They understand wars. They understand special circumstances. But if you premeditate to kill someone like murder for no reason other than selfish reasons, that's a debt, because you've cut their sojourn short and you've wrecked their whole life and everyone connected with that person and all the million other interactions they were going to have. So they're all got to start next time in life. So you've got that karma. And the second thing is, please, if you can, don't harm or kill yourself. And again, they understand depression, they understand illnesses, they understand circumstances, they understand sacrificing yourself for others. They understand, but they say, you're not escaping anything. You got to go back and finish that lesson. That's all. So this soul had that debt of killing that young woman. So I knew this soul as a young 20-year-old female here in Australia, and she wanted to have a past life regression, and we did this, and this was her past life. And she was shown this, and when she was shown it, we have a special area where she watches these movies with her soul guide, and the movie faded, and her soul guide looked at her and then pointed to another screen, and on that screen was her current life in Australia.
Yes.
The physical world is the suffering. The physical world is the jungle with lions and tigers and bears. The physical world is the hell on earth. We go through every sort of harm and everything imaginable down here. Yeah. But over next door.
Blessings, right?
Yes. It's not all bad. There's chocolate ice cream and tay-tay. So it hurts. Yes, it's a lot of pain. Yes, it destroys people. And they're the lessons that we have to go through here in life about how fragile life is, how short it can be. Once you understand there's survival after death, that you have to feel more sorry for the living than you do for the ones that are past, because the ones that are past are in a beautiful place and they're just like, my poor friends are still down there in the jungle. Yeah. Everyone that crosses over has that wow, and that's why the light is so empowering. Because the Supreme Being shining that light on a soul to bring you home into a total world of love is overwhelming after the world we've just been in. And it's also to make up for the world you've just been in and to heal. I mean, like I said, we can be over there 50, 100, 200 years, however long we want to be. Other adventurous souls have done immediate turnarounds from one life to another without even resting. Some souls, they're advised not to do a quick turnaround or to wait only 1 year and come back, because it takes time to heal from all the traumas we have on life in the physical world. That's what that light is about in heaven, the Supreme Being. It's about healing our soul of those traumas we've all been through. And that's the reward of going through a physical life too. The student goes, all right, I'll do that really hard work, but I get to come home for the weekend. And that's what heaven is. You get to stay, be with all your friends. Nothing can hurt you. There's no starvation, no disease, no nothing. Just good times. Plenty of good times and healing. So the physical world, they understand. It's hard work, but it's also an adventure. It's also where you build relationships. It's where you learn lessons. It's a thing in spirit as well. These different areas, when you come home, there's a welcoming home area, a garden with our soul guides and all the friends and family that we knew in that life. So when we come home, that's who meets us first off. And a lot of people describe a near-death experience that they're in, a wonderful garden or fields of green grass and beautiful sunshine. And there was my, grandmother or grandfather to greet me and everything like this. That's the first step of the near-death experience when we come home, the gateway. And once we've met with everyone and welcomed home, then we go off to a side area to talk to our soul guide in the garden about the life we've just lived and what we thought we got right, what we thought we got wrong. No judgment. Just want to hear our story. And then once we've done that, we go to an area called the Waterfall of Healing. And that's where the healers get to use energy and different colours energy to wash away all the traumas of that lifetime and to heal the soul that gets bent out of shape from all the hurt and pain that we have in a lifetime. And once you're healed from that area, you can go back to your soul group then and rejoin with your soul group and share all the stories of what you've been through. And you share your lessons too of what you've been through. And you have a soul guide and a junior soul guide attached to that soul group, and they help you with all your lessons. And then you go off and meet the council of elders, and they want to hear how you went. And again, no judgment. They just want to hear how everything went with you and what you thought you got right, what you thought you got wrong, and how you'd like to work on that next area and have a think about it, because at the end of your rest, we'll come back and talk to you again. So then when you go back, another area that the soul goes to is called the library. And in the library is our books of life. And we all have one. It's our book in there in the library. And it's got beautiful, it's all made of energy, but it's beautiful big leather book, however you want to colour it, with whatever gold writing you want on it. And the pages are kind of like pearl, that kind of reflective rainbow sort of white. And and each page you turn has a lifetime that you've lived in there. And when you're in that library with your soul guide, you can watch that whole life like a movie in there, but you can also enter that page and you can use different choices to see, if only I'd turned left there, what would happen? And you can explore that. Or what would have happened if I turned right there and explore that and see, was I seeing all the angles? Did I get that right? Did I get that wrong? And that's our book of life with all of our different lessons that we've lived in that book. And then there's other wonderful areas to share and rest and recreation even in heaven, and passions and joy. And then at the end of that rest, that's when your soul guides will talk to you and say, okay, are you ready to go on a new adventure? And your friends have got an idea of they want you in a group, or we got an idea that you're going to be solo. Have you ever done just a life on your own? They'll explore different areas of different choices. And in that, there's like a movie theatre when we're talking about a medium, hard or easy life, and they can show you short trailers of what that life would look like. So you can say, all right, what would the medium life look like? And they'll give you 5 minutes of the movie playing of that life to show you bits and pieces, of course, only the best bits, because they don't want to scare you off it. So they show you the best bits. Oh, that looks all right. I might try that one.
This isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey in that one.
Now,
I hate to jump in, but
Yes.
we're gonna have to wrap this up pretty quickly now.
No problem.
So I think I'm gonna stop you there, because Kim's supposed to be ending, and I'm looking at her face, and she ain't doing anything.
She was sucked in 100%. So, Craig, can we have you on again soon? So we've got so many more questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
We'll keep going till the information runs out, and I warn you now, it won't run out.
Okay.
Don't go towards the white light anytime soon.
Be kind, be cool, be groovy.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. reason that the world fucked up is cause everybody lazy. Positivity is corny to them, but they still gon' complain about the bad going on, shit crazy. So I just had to drop a little project. I don't know what the object is, but this feels good. If you too hood for the good vibe, sorry I ain't got nothing for you, why should I?
You shouldn't. We out here doing the things that y'all wouldn't. Life could be a sweet ride, proof is in the pudding. These guys with the weak vibes, I'll show them where to put it. Down bad, I was looking for the answer. Mind all mad, taking over like a cancer. Canceled the sub plans, came from up above. Told me everything we're doing, showing love, and I gotta
wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up.
I've been getting so high, head up in the clouds. I don't ever wanna come down, but I gotta wake up. Ain't enough time to be down. Bust a smile, cause it's yet another day that I'm allowed to wake up. Feeling blessed to be alive, man. Not long till we thriving. Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself. Most.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time yet. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep